upwards. Welcome to Leicester.
You may have heard of us. We won the Premier League back in 2016 and we just recently won the FA Cup.
You may have heard of us. We're the first city to place on local lockdown due to COVID-19.
But forget all that. Welcome to Behind the Name.
Right, we're Stayfree Music. We've been going since 1992. Stayfree is named after the Clash song that was a favourite song of a good friend of mine who was killed on tour that year. We do rehearsal rooms predominantly, but we've also got other facilities and space for production rooms and stuff like that. Loads of things I can't remember. Go on.
So we've got 9 hourly rehearsal rooms, we've got 10 resident rooms, there's studios facility within the building, we have equipment hire and a music spares shop.
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm VJ, I'm the station manager of EAVA FM 102.5, and you know what, us as an organisation, we get involved with the community in several different ways. As you're aware, radio station in Leicester, we play lots of Leicester music. As you're aware, right now on air, you can hear we've got a Leicester song playing in the background. So yeah, we love to play Leicester music. We also do a lot of events that support the Leicester artists in the music scene. And we go out of our way, all the presenters here at radio station as well, at EAVA FM, we love to get involved with Leicester music, and it's great.
So with HQ, we've kind of got a few different parts of the organisation. So we've got HQ Recording Studio, which is like kind of commercial and stuff, and we've got HQ Familiar, which is the record label and like a artist management thing. But we've also got HQ CAN, which is HQ Creative Arts Network, and that's a community interest company, and basically that's set up just to help the community basically. So we work with unemployed adults over 18 who are any interest in music. We work with provide them kind of assistance in a variety of ways, you know. So some people it might be really basic stuff like just giving them a safe space to come and make music. Some people it's kind of giving them a chance to tap into a talent that they might not otherwise get to use, and some people who are really good it's kind of will help them become, you know, try and get to the next level, whether it's going self-employed, you know, like how to promote, how to do invoicing, how to just the whole artist development, how to create a brand, you know. So I think we do a lot, to be honest, for the local music community and people within it, and we've been doing it for quite a long time, to be honest.
What's good? My name's Adam Lewis, also known as A-Bomb, most known in Leicester for founding Yard 26 Recordings, now operating under the name of Adam Lewis Mixing. The name Yard 26 came about a long time ago, back in 2002. I was in a rap group called Speech Therapy at that time, me along with about 8 other members. We used to record in my older brother's bedroom back then, and the house name just happened to be 26. So it got known as Yard 26 just amongst us, you know, just amongst friends and in our little group, and everyone just referred to it as 26. You go in Yard 26, let's link at Yard 26. So the name just kind of stuck, and then when I opened it out to having clients and customers coming in and doing sessions with me, I just kept the name and kept it moving like that.
Well, with our rehearsal rooms, they're open to all genres, so we have rock, metal, punk, urban, R&B, traditional. It really doesn't matter what kind of music we have in here. It's just such a joy to have all different types of genres. The best days that we have is when every single room's got a different genre in, because that's organic, created from 30 years of experience. It's not something you can force to happen.
Okay, so young people, wow. People that know me in the scene, they know VJ loves to work with young people in terms of helping them grow and push forward in life, and just helping young people, supporting young people. And that's something very close to EAVA FM as well. We have lots of different projects here at EAVA FM supporting young people, from our work experiences to opportunities on radio, to playing young people's music, whether it's even doing events. We get a lot of young people to perform at events, even not just music really. We do a lot of young projects with young people. We've got one going on right now as we talk, you know. It's great to have young people in the building as they're our future. So yeah, EVA FM loves working with young people, and it's great to have them around, you know, supporting them move forward in life.
So, like I said before, generally we're 18 plus, but I know young people's classed up to 25. So, I think 18 to 25 is probably my biggest demographic of people that I work with, and they get involved in all sorts of ways, you know. So whether it's performing at the events and open mics, whether it's just coming and like learning how to make beats or recording singles, EPs, projects, that kind of stuff. We also do like stuff with DMU and that, so we take people on as like work experience, internships, graduate champion scheme, that kind of stuff. So basically anything to do with music, events, performance, probably more along the urban line, you know, but it could be anything. Like, so if it's rappers, they'll come and get involved with the rap stuff. If they're engineers and producers, they'll get involved more in the tech side. If they're more interested in the event stuff, they'll be more involved in that. So we try and basically create, I suppose, bespoke journeys for each person. So it's about getting those young people and kind of creating a plan around where they want to go in life, basically.
In 2007, I opened it up to people coming in from outside of the group and recording with me and paying me for sessions. And back then it was, you know, £5 here and there to just record a little song. But as time went on, people started getting familiar with the name Yard 26 and wanted to come and be part of it and record with me. And, you know, that's what gave me the kind of motivation to open it up and open up in town. Back in 2009, we opened up the spot in town, and that's when it really kicked on and people really started coming in big numbers, and it was great to see the scene grow and kind of grow with it. You know, I was always into rapping and producing, even back when I was 11 or 12 years old. Me and my older brother used to do it together, and back then there wasn't really studios that you could go to. You know, there wasn't anywhere really accessible and affordable that knew about hip-hop and would make it sound how we wanted it to sound. So really, we started recording and mixing our own stuff out of necessity back then. You know, you're talking year 2000, 2002, 3. You know, it was really like a case of do it yourself or don't do it at all. So that's how it all got started. And engineering wasn't really, you know, mixing and mastering wasn't really something that I ever had a massive interest in back then as you know, as a really younger person. But as time went on, I developed my skills and my craft with it, and, you know, realized that this is something I can really go into and something that I really enjoy doing. Yeah, when I opened the studio, it was always going to be only a hip-hop or urban thing, you know. It was never, I don't have any real background in like rock music or any other type of music really, so I knew how to make things sound right in terms of rapping, you know, or even R&B singing or whatever it is, you know. That's the genre that I know and love, so that's what I wanted to go into, because I didn't feel confident enough really to go in and say I can record a full band or, you know, anything like that, orchestral stuff, you know, that's not really my bag. So I guessed it was best to stick with what I know best, and that's why to this day I'm still mostly just mixing and mastering hip-hop, R&B, grime, trap, you know, those sorts of genres.
Well, at the moment it's trying to recover after the COVID fiasco.
It's been a difficult 18 months for everybody in the music and arts industry, but what we've discovered in the last month that we've been open is that our customers are really engaged and ready to start performing again and getting creative again. There's a real vibe that we didn't have last year. And
Despite the government telling everybody to retrain.
Well, I think we're going to see this year and next year there's going to be real insurgence for performance and live music, whether that's from artists or whether it's from the audience.
But it's not an insurgence. You usually got armed at the front of it.
Well, we are armed. Armed with creative joy.
Sorry. Okay, I'll shut up then.
Ooh, that's a good question. Right now, our current scene is probably one of its best it's ever been. We've always known, from me being a young man, or a young lad, shall I say, or a young boy, to I'm a grown adult now, Leicester's always had a thriving music scene. We're very lucky in Leicester to come from a city that has had great musical talent. all round. We've had some major superstars come from Leicester as well, global superstars. I don't want to name drop anyone, but yeah, Leicester's doing fantastic right now. We're seeing people on billboards, adverts, commercials. We're seeing our Leicester scene actually grow out of UK. Never mind that, London has actually got a lot of Leicester lot of talent there. So our scene is, my opinion is, yeah, we can always do better. Of course, we can always unite and come together as always, but that's with anything. Nothing's perfect. So I think where we are right now, I think we're at a good, healthy scene, and I think it's great. So shout out everyone part of the Leicester scene, you know?
To be honest, my view on the scene as it is at the minute, I feel like it's a weird one, because obviously we're coming out of Corona times where there's been no events for a year, you know, so it's a really strange time, but I feel like it's potentially the best it's ever been, you know, like we've got a lot of people bubbling at the minute, you know, that are bringing eyes to Leicester, you know what I mean? So like Mahalia and Easy Life and JB Schofield, Trillery Banks, Kamikaze, you know, and then there's like a layer of people under them, and then there's loads of up and coming youngsters and stuff. So I feel like on that side of it, it's the best it's ever been, you know, like I've been in the business for 11 years, and I don't think I've ever seen so many people taking it seriously, you know, like looking at how they're branding, the levels of music videos are going up, you know what I mean? I feel like there's a bit of friendly competition in the city, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's the best it's been, to be honest.
You know, I've really seen the scene evolve and grow over the years. You know, back when I started, back in 2007, when I started recording with artists, I only really knew people that were local to me and people that I already kind of was working with on a personal level. So having people coming from outside who I didn't know yet, and seeing the talent and the music that they were able to produce, it was a real eye-opener. Just because you're from here doesn't mean you can't do it, doesn't mean you're not going to be accepted. I think there was this impression back then, and maybe based on some reality, that, you know, if you're from little old Leicester, you ain't really going to be able to mix it up with the guys from London and Manchester and Birmingham or wherever else. You know, it was going to be difficult for you. It's not going to be accepted, and there was some truth in that back then. And I think those few artists that have managed to kind of break out of that and you know, get nationwide recognition, nationwide radio play, and even some global recognition, I think that's really helped to push it along, you know, and it's helped the younger generation and the new artists that are coming up now to really look at them as inspirations of, look, I'm from Leicester, but it hasn't got that same stigma attached to it anymore, you know, being from a small city. I think there's a lot more opportunity now to get out there and to not really be afraid of, like, being from Leicester. I'm from Leicester. You know, people know about Leicester now. It's got much more of a name and a reputation to it because artists have come out and sort of broke through that barrier and become, you know, bigger artists outside of just being local Leicester artists. I think what's impressing me right now about the scene and artists from Leicester is that it's much easier now, I feel, to break out of the locality of being from Leicester, you know. Before, it maybe had a bit of a stigma attached to it, you know. There was a little bit of fear about being from Leicester and trying to break out and mixing it up in the big cities, and, you know, admitting that you're from Leicester, maybe being looked down upon based on that, and I'm sure that still goes on to some degree, but I think it's much less now because we've got artists that have broke through that barrier, you know, and become much more successful nationwide, not just locally, you know. So there's a lot more exposure, and, you know, artists from London, Manchester, Birmingham, whatever, they know about Leicester artists now, and they're collaborating with Leicester artists now, and it's good to see that, you know. And maybe we still don't have like a strong base here, and we don't have necessarily all the companies and, you know, the managers and all those kind of things here. So artists do generally still have to venture out and go to London and go to Manchester and whatever to really, you know, get in the right meetings and get your feet under the right tables. But ultimately, you know, everything takes time, and it's all a process, and I'm not somebody who believes in trying to rush through that process. You know, sometimes things have to happen organically, and I think, you know, we have to give it time. Things have progressed. Leicester is much more on the map now than it ever has been, and it will only continue to progress in that way. You know, the more artists that come out of here that have success nationwide and globally, is the better it is for everybody, because it shows everybody else how it's done. It creates a pathway and hopefully those artists, you know, can help and guide and show others the route. And I know that most of the artists that come out of here that gain success, you know, they're into that, you know, they are willing to help and willing to, you know, guide where they can, because they know how hard it was for them to do what they were doing, and, you know, there's always lessons learned. So I think it's important that we show each other the way, you know, any little bit of success that Leicester, particularly in the hip hop scene or the urban scene of Leicester, you know, success that is gained, we should do our bit to help out others, you know, and to show others the way of how we did it, and give pointers and tips. You know, we don't necessarily owe that, you know, nobody necessarily owes that to anybody, but, you know, you can't forget where you're from, and Leicester is a good place to be from, and, you know, we have to keep that with us and use that as motivation to help others and to guide where we can.
Yeah, I've got some quite strong opinions on messing with stuff. There are things that you can do, but it should be seed only, because a real seed grows from the people, not the organisations. Organisations collaborating is a really good idea, so that they all start singing on the same song sheet, but to try and make something happen in the music industry is futile.
Yeah, I think that you know, the current organisations that we've got in this city, I think the more that we work together and play on each other's strengths, the better the scene's going to be. I mean, from our perspective, we hire out rooms and we hire out equipment, but the amount of people that use our facilities to run their own businesses from, that to us is what it's about. It's giving people the space to be able to do what they want to do, and that helps everybody all round, really.
In terms of changes we need to make, it's just really just working more along together. I think we come from a background of a lot of things are happening in our city. We're a smaller city compared to other cities, so a lot of people know each other. I think a lot of communities know each other. And I think the one thing we can change is just by working more together, more of what we're currently doing. I can't see that much wrong with the scene. And people would disagree with me, people will agree with me. If I was totally wrong, I would say we wouldn't be getting so many stars from our city, so many positive movements from our city. So in terms of what can we make better, it's a difficult question. At the end of the day, I would say you can make everything better. Nothing's perfect. So I just think, yeah, let's work together. Let's push all our artists, musicians, producers, people behind the scenes as well, and kind of show them that, hang on, there is things happening in our city, and just kind of a bigger picture out there is we want to see more professionals come from our city doing more music full time. And I think that's the only thing that I would say. But overall, there's not much we can change. We can just keep on going on the way we're going. And I think that's the direction is key. We've got some really good venues here. And I think supporting independent would be really good as well. I think independent artists or musicians, or in the music scene generally, anyone part of that independent kind of style, support one another, because that's who's going to support us back, really. I hope that's answered your question.
I think, to be honest, the changes that I would like to see is what I've always been pushing for, but it's a really hard thing to make happen in Leicester, and I think it's around creating a bit more community around. So there's a lot of individual people making moves, you know, so you've got this studio and you've got this brand and this brand, you know. I think there needs to be a bit more collaboration. There needs to be more people kind of backing each other and, you know, like boosting each other up rather than everybody being in competition. There's a bit too much politics within the scene. You know, like, I can't work with you because that person works with you, and I can't share that song because someone else won't like it. And I think, you know, being a small city, you know, to try and compete with bigger cities, we need more unity, you know what I mean? But not in a way like it has to be all happy-clappy, but in a way where, you know, like, let's be on the same page, you know, like, let's all do things together that can draw more people in, that can add weight to this thing that we're pushing, you know what I mean?
In terms of changes and improvements that can be brought in to help the scene, I think it has to happen organically to some degree. You know, I'm not a big fan of forcing changes and forcing progress. You know, I think progress happens at the right time, and a lot of progress has happened. You know, from way back when I started out recording with artists here up until now, the progression is huge. You know, we're talking maybe 10, 12, 13 years. You know, and a lot has changed in that time. But then there wasn't really any artists from here that, at least that I knew of, that were really getting big numbers, you know, that were really breaking out of the locality and being famous just in Leicester to being, you know, much more known in the wider world, in the wider country at least. You know, it wasn't really happening that much back then, and I think now that happens a lot more. You know, we've got artists that are really breaking through and really doing things, and that will only progress and become more and more people. So I think here we don't really have like established management. We don't really have established record labels or big radio stations. That's the only issue, you know. And as I say, I think that has to come with time. Hopefully it comes with time. You can't force that. You know, opportunities need to be, things need to be right for those opportunities to come along, for people to step into those shoes. And I think what we do have now, we have people that have experience. You know, we have quite a few people dotted about the city that have decent experience now of being in the industry, and know what it takes and know what it's about when you get there. And I think those people do have, you know, some level of duty to try and help out others that are trying to go in that same way. And you know, they don't have to do that, but it'd be nice to see some of those artists offering tips and guidance to others, you know, on how they can do it. But ultimately, you know, everybody is for themselves, and that's kind of how life is. So we can't expect miracles from people, you know. We all have to tread our own path and go our own way. But I think we can improve by just continuing on. You know, any good up and coming artists that we see, we have to support them, and we have to show them any little bit of experience that we have as older people, you know, of how they can progress successfully and, you know, hopefully prosper in the best way.
Okay, well, industry, what I'm known as on the streets and on the hip hop circuit is DJ KMS, which is an abbreviation of my favorite DJ who I learned everything from, listening to New York tapes, because I do hip hop. So I used to get these tapes from New York when I was a kid, and they had a DJ Cool DJ Red Alert was his name. So my name, the K in it, is Cool, yeah. And you know, to the uninitiated, they say, hey, you don't spell cool with a K, it's spelled with a C. Not in hip hop, it ain't. Yeah, in hip hop, it's spelled with a K. Just the same way Weetabix is not spelled W-E-E-T. Yeah, it's marketing, you know. Remember that, kids. So yeah, the first part of it is Cool. That's taken from Cool DJ Red Alert. And the second part is Mitch, which comes from my second name. And the last part is Ski. So where I'm from originally, that's what they call me, Cool Mitch Ski. But you know, your nickname gets abbreviated, so KMS. And it comes, so like I said, the last part, Ski, is originally that comes from New York. And people who were skis generally were cocaine dealers. Ski, snow, cocaine, snow, yeah? So, but in Leicester, it kind of come from Highfields. We were hip hop kids and we were influenced by New Yorkers. So people started putting ski on the end of their names. And it's a Leicester tradition now. There's no more ski. Out of New York, I'd say there's no more skis about than in Leicester. Yeah. So where I come from, there's loads of skis. Yeah. Rube ski, Norm ski, Cray ski, T ski. Yeah, and we're all affiliated, and that's where it comes from. It's a street thing from Highfields, which then spread through the city. So my name's Cool Mitch Ski. That's the explanation for my name. And like I just said, I'm a hip hop DJ. I'm a scratch mix traditional hip hop DJ. That's what I do. Yeah.
Well, my name in the industry is Carol Leeming. But Leeming is not. Leeming was my ex-husband's name, which I kept. But it's not my real name. My real second name is Nesbitt. But I liked it because I like the sound of it, Leeming. And in Anglo-Saxon language, it means something shiny. So I just kept that.
Nice.
And then I have my own music company, which is called Dare to Diva, which is about, obviously, being a diva, but it's also about stepping out into the spotlight. I mean, I come from a working class black background, so it was about trying to be at the center of things.
Got you.
I go by the name of DJ Icon. It's short for Iconoclast, which is someone who goes against cherished beliefs and systems. My name's Icon. I'm also part of Taoreta, which is like I'm one half of a hip hop duo from Leicester itself as well.
Well, I go by the name Lombardo. Obviously, surname's Lumber. Something obviously you probably don't even know, so as regards way back before Saul was born, we used to live on a road called Lombardy Rise. So we kind of just matched it together. All my peeps used to call me Lumber. Anyway, that was the nickname, so I kind of just gelled it together and come up with Lombardo. So that name itself helped get me in the industry, and we're talking about probably just after the mid-90s. So that name's kind of stuck to me like glue.
I go by my own name, Lisa Millett. It's the name I was born with. My mother gave it me, so my dad and my mum gave it me, and that's the way it stays. I don't need to change it.
My name's Ninja Bob. I've been called it. I used to be, when I first started DJing, I was called Sideshow Bob, because I used to love I still love the Simpsons and its character off Simpsons. Then it's a story that I'm not going to get into because it's a bit a bit controversial. But like my friend, we got into a bit of a. I basically helped like a friend out who got into a scuffle, and everybody who used to know me knew me as being really lazy. And my housemate, when he heard about this thing, he couldn't believe it. He's like, "Man, I can't believe that you've done that. Like, it's just totally not you. You're usually lying on the couch doing nothing all day." And he's like, "Yeah, you're a ninja, man. You're a ninja. You hide all the time, and then suddenly like you spot jump to life, and like, yeah, you're a ninja." So then like after that, like my actual nickname was Ninja Bob. Then a few years after that, another mates who were DJ with Tanda, he was like, "Oh, why don't you call yourself Ninja Bob? It's way better than Sideshow Bob." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that," and then changed it, and then I've kept it since. So, yeah.
I go by the name of D.Crime. Okay. Come up with that name. Basically, when I first started out in rapping, in hip hop music and rapping stuff, people say to me, "Oh, your lyrics are dangerous. You know what I mean? They're criminal." And I just thought, you know what? Okay. But then instead of just like having a name and not having a meaning to it, I kind of put a meaning to my name. So basically, D, even though my real name is initial D, I put D for dangerous. And then I used to spell crime. When I first started coming out, I used to spell crime with a K. Then I thought, you know what I mean, I was a bit corny. So I changed it up. So basically it's dangerous, the C is critical, and I spell rhyme, R-I-M-E. So put them together, D.Crime.
I'm Traj P. I'm from Leicester. The name sort of came about at college, like 20 odd years ago.
So yeah, my number one genre is hip hop, classic hip hop. Yeah, but that encompasses a load of stuff because hip hop's everything in the kitchen sink in it. So when I'm mixing, you can hear anything in my mixes, and yeah, I represent traditional hip hop culture. Yeah, I'm not saying it's no better than anything or it's better than the new stuff. That's just my thing. That's because that's the foundation. So whether you play modern stuff, whether you play house and you mix or you scratch or whatever, you really need to check out original hip hop DJs. Because if you can knock that down, if you can mix, cut and scratch a hip hop set, no other music will give you any trouble. House music, all of that won't give you no trouble at all. So how I engage people is that's traditional hip hop. It's the outrageous, it's the exotic. So you can hear me play hardcore hip hop and I'll mix it with something that you would say, nah, that's not supposed to mix with that, but it works. Yeah, you can use something so cheesy and put it into hip hop, which then it's becomes so bad it's good because it shouldn't be in there, and that makes it. And that's how, when I'm mixing, that's how I engage the audience in the crowd. The way I bring the next tune in or whatever, I give you a little tease, and it's about that. It's about being original. Yeah.
Well, music is just one art form that I do, but I'm actually classed as a polymath and a multidisciplinary artist. So I'm actually a singer-songwriter, composer. I'm a musician. I play keyboards. I'm also a percussionist. So I've worked not only as a singer-songwriter who's been published and had hits and made records, but I'm also a music director. So I've led ensembles of musicians and composed music. So that's on the music side. But I'm also a promoter. I've got a gig. You lot need to come. I've got a gig on the 28th of May, part of Festival 2 Funky Urban Music Festival. So I actually book acts and I've mentored music acts on, how to develop their career. But I'm also a published poet, and I've had plays produced stages, Brighton, and I also write screenplay on a film screenplay at the moment for a feature, and I've done radio drama.
Nice.
So, and also doing film, I do digital still and moving image. So I've been a photographer and a filmmaker. So I use all those, but in music, I kind of outlined what I do in music.
Nice.
I use music in all forms to connect with people. Hip hop, bass music, drum and bass is what I'm really known for here in Leicester. And hip hop ultimately is really what I'm known for. But in terms of music as a DJ, I'll play anything. So I like to be different and mix all different kinds of music and not just stick with genre specific stuff.
For me, I come from a drum and bass background. Then it went on to house and garage and grime through like the late 90s and the early 2000s. Then that kind of dubstep scene, got involved in with that, dealing with a lot of artists down in London. Then the house scene came along and everyone started shuffling all over the place. So kind of got involved in that as well. So all different kind of mixed genres. And I run a little nightclub in town called Below. And that's helped me kind of interact with younger DJs, younger artists who want to come down, had to spit some bars, or whether DJ, whether it's house or drum and bass music. So I'm giving them that chance to play in front of a crowd, where before they're probably just going pirate studios and just playing in front of the mates, where here they're getting a little chance to play to like at least 50 or to 100 people. So it's kind of, I'm at an age now where I want to help young talent. Back in my day, no one kind of helped me. I had to kind of do it myself. A lot of the guys were kind of doing their own thing, where with me, I was always trying to hustle to get a gig. There's nothing like this back in my day, nothing like this. So I always had to kind of hustle. But now I'm at a point where I can help other people who want to DJ or rap or whatever.
The main thing I'm known for is house music. I've been doing that years, a very long time. I had my first session with a local singer. I've forgotten his name, Jean-Paul. He got me a session with a quite infamous guy called Morgan Khan, who runs Street Sounds in London. So that was my first introduction to house music, and I've been doing it ever since. So that's my main thing. But I studied jazz at the Royal Academy of Music, and that's probably my first love, along with funk, which was the reason I ended up in London in the first place, because I used to play in a band called Soul Station in the 80s, and we decided to move to London to get fame and fortune, which it didn't really work out, but most of us are still playing. So
I play absolutely everything. My main influence has always been hip hop, and I loved hip hop because of the way that it samples other music. So I've I've played every sort of night. I mean, I used to do a lot of indie music nights and like more alternative indie music like shoegaze and stuff like that. And like if I'm playing at a late night club, I play bass music, and I love drum and bass and stuff like that, and bits of house. And I've done disco nights. I mean, I even done like when we used to do this event called House of Verse. I used to do stuff with that, and like we used to do the Diwali day, and I play Indian influenced music and stuff like that. So yeah, anything goes, and it's so like with the same with my mediums of what I use. I've always been open to anything. For me, I've done like comedy shows before, and I'm involved a lot in spoken word because I think that sort of follows on from hip hop. It's sort of just a more gentrified version of hip hop. Basically, it's quite funny because like you see with poets, you get the same beef as you get with hip hop artists, like between each other, but a lot more like relaxed and calm, and like they're all like very like passive about it, and it's really funny. But it's really that everybody's really cool with one another, but you always get like there's this like edge of competitiveness, which is really interesting to watch. But yeah, so I love doing that, and yeah, pretty much anything that I think the key thing to being a good creative is just be open to anything and just go with the flow, whatever it is, because you never know where it's going to lead. And you could make lots of money off it. You could get loads of like enjoyment out of it. You could spark something off in your mind and think, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do that. So yeah, anything goes with me really.
But obviously my specialty is in hip hop. That's what I found when I was growing up. Obviously, you know, other people, they come across music in life, whether it's reggae, soul, house, whatever. Mine was hip hop. But I also, obviously, I grew up on a lot of stuff because obviously come from a background with my family who are into reggae, funk, soul, disco, gospel, jazz. I've got all those influences as well. So, I mean, I love soul music. That's one of my first love, soul music. Yeah, so that's how I come in.
I'm a boom bap producer, mainly that sort of 90s influence vibes. Just released an album called 11 Hours to Leicester with my friend Shinobi from Orlando. Yeah, so also check out Bear Grooming. That's my brand that started off my brother and my wife a few years ago. It's a men's grooming brand. You know, so we're trying to basically focus that brand around a lot of our passions. So there's a lot of music influences in there. You know, we started doing these crafted events where it was a night of like barbarism and live hip hop and live DJing. You've got a couple of them. The very first one that we did was when we called over Lord Finesse and Diamond D. That was our very first event, and that's where I met EAVA FM. You know, met Bam, met Loaneski, a lot of other Leicester artists as well. So that sort of pushed me, yeah, to make more music. I did get influenced a lot by that.
The scene is good currently. I'd say the scene's all right in Leicester because you've got the people like me what have been doing it for decades. I'm not even going to admit how long I've been doing it for, but we still link with the younger generation. So a lot of the people you might hear about from different generations, Stanza Devan or Loaneski or any one of these artists from the city, a lot of their producers are from my generation or help them in give them ideas. So
okay, so first thing is, just so you know, because I was signed to people like Warner's and Sony, I've been on major record labels. So my first point is about the industry is that it's still not in the favour of the artist or the singer-songwriter. So let's just get that one out there. Having said that, though, I'm excited about the artists that I think there's so much diverse music. And I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday, and we were saying that younger generations of musicians and music artists have so much that they can draw on from previous generations of music, and you know, are able to incorporate, and sometimes their levels are really high. You know, I was listening to a girl this week. I was in Mark Morrison's Mac Life studio, because I was there to assess vocalists for him. And there was this girl, she's 21, and she was like sick, you know, singer and songwriter. And we were saying, you know, that we weren't that good at 21. We weren't at that level at 21. So having things like YouTube and diverse musics and the internet has changed music. Also, the way people receive music, you know, streaming is different. However, I think, you know, the live thing is still going to go on. And also touring, you know, being able to tour is really key. You can have a zillion hits on YouTube. Really doesn't count for anything until you get on the road and you sell tickets and get bombs on seats, which we're starting to do after COVID. So I'm optimistic about the music scene, but I'm also aware, and I'm involved in organisations that after Black Lives Matter, that, you know, diverse Black musicians are not getting a good deal. Women aren't getting a good deal in this industry. It's a very sexist industry. And for artists today, though, what's good is you can make your music and get it out there. You don't always need a record company, a publisher or whatever, and still get noticed and you know, develop your career. So overall, I would say things are a lot better for people making music today.
I think the scene's very fragmented. I feel that the scene pulls in its own direction. So you've got certain people that will support certain people, and they're the only support that person will get. I think it's very difficult because everyone calls about unity, but there really isn't any unity in Leicester at all. It would be good if everyone clubbed together and actually tried to do stuff together. It would actually push everyone on, which would be good for the scene, really, instead of just being like it is right now and everyone fighting each other.
The scene in Leicester, I think it's getting there. There's a lot of big events in Leicester. I mean, you've got HQ down the road. You've got big events like B-Swang doing their thing as well. So that's kind of hoping, nurturing talent to a degree. I know a lot of MCs now who have gone down the grime path. So Leicester's a good melting pot. It always has been for a long time. I think what lacks in Leicester is the venues for you to go and perform. Obviously, over the past couple of years, Pirate Studios has come about. So a couple of the guys go there and do their thing there in front of the mates. So that's why I feel with the venue that I'm running, I want to give an opportunity to people who probably just DJing in the bedroom. So the scene here is very good in Leicester. It just, like I said, the lack of venues probably holds us back a little bit, but I'm hoping that can change after this coronavirus lockdown type of thing.
I don't know the scene in Leicester. It's not very visible. Fortunately for me, I've got involved with the Project Live, which is an urban young artists mentoring program, and I'm the musical director for that. And suddenly I find out what's actually happening, but it's like a big secret. I don't know where these people are. I don't know where they come from. I don't hear them. And they certainly don't mix with the musicians that I do know here, even though the musicians obviously my age and the youngsters are probably 20, 30 years younger. They do not know of each other's existence. So it's very segregated, very segregated. And I'm not great on this term urban music. What does it mean? Because to me, music is music, and it's not really urban. It's just what you play, what you like. So I don't really understand the term. Never have. But I do think, being the director of Project Live, I've seen a lot of the problems that there are, and I've really enjoyed embracing it and watching, because I do have a vast knowledge of this industry and, you know, different genres of music, and I've been around a lot. I've toured, you know, I've made lots of records, I'm in lots of bands. I know the business itself, and it's brutal. So it's been nice to kind of guide these kids, they're not kids, but nice to give them some guidance and not shy away from the harsh realities of what the music industry is about. But also what I've noticed doing Project Live, and I'm only on my second one, but that they don't know each other. They're on the same scene and they don't know each other, which is just, how have you never met? When I was, you know, playing funk music in Leicester in the 80s, there were a lot of festivals on, and everybody knew everybody, and all the funk bands, all the soul bands, the ska bands, the rock bands, the heavy rock bands, the punk bands, we all knew each other. You know, we were always on the same festivals, we always played at the same venues, obviously different kind of nights, and we all hung out in the same bars and clubs, so we knew each other. So there was a community, and everybody, you know, and we all mingled with each other. So it wasn't like we didn't know each other, but this lot haven't got a clue, and I don't know who they are. I don't see any visual representation of anything that's happening in this city. I just don't see it. I've been back in Leicester 10 years, and only the last couple of years have I really started to know what's going on, and that's purely because of Too Funky, because it is the only place where you can see, other than rock bands, and even them you can see there. It's the only place really you can go and see a band at an affordable price, and also bands that you've heard of, but they're not Leicester bands. Doing Project Live has made me realise I need to check out what's actually happening. So yeah, it's a difficult time for you. I'm not envious of you at all, because we had so much to feed off. We had so much input. People could come to your gigs. You know, people knew your gigs. People would go to your gigs. You can't get people off their social media to get off the backside and actually move towards a venue and go and see you. Nobody supports people around here, and that's definitely a very large change over the last few decades, because it's not how it was. I don't know why that is, but it's definitely a problem. So with I keep going back to Project Live, but it's because I'm really involved in it. So, and I'm really starting to see the artists. So with that, I really try to encourage them to find musicians of their own age, because obviously the bands that I work with, they're my age, who are working with the artists. So I'm trying to encourage them not to look to them to play with, but to find people of their own age. Go out, meet people, go to gigs, go to jam sessions, check out who's around, and start to develop your own peer group. Because at that age, you know, at 19, I knew hundreds of musicians and artists in this city, and these people know nobody, and that shocks me a lot. Because Leicester, when I left, Leicester had a school of music. It had lots of gigs, gig venues, and anybody who played, you know, in a band tended to hang out in the same bars. Didn't matter what style of music you played. It was very integrated, and it was colour integrated as well. So I'm not keen on what's happening at the moment, and I am ready to put my boot in and try and change a few things, because I don't like what I see. There you go. That was a bit long, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty healthy. I mean, I was at an event at LCB Depot last night, 5HQ ran, and they had a lot of up and coming like urban artists playing like there, and there's a lot of good quality. I mean, it's weird. Like, I've been around the scene for like 10 years or so now, so it's been interesting to see how it develops and changes, and I think it does go in peaks and troughs. It's not always like the same level of like quality or the same level of participation. I think people, especially with Leicester, because it's quite a small city, like a lot of people, if they want to go and make make themselves bigger, they tend to drift off to try and do it in bigger cities, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But yeah, so I think at the moment, it's, especially considering we've all been in a lockdown and stuff like that, like from what we've seen so far, it's good. Like, and yeah, hip hop, there's loads of hip hop artists around. Like, I'm like, I think I'm not seeing that many really young hip hop artists coming through at the moment, but I think that'll change like as time goes on. Like, and I've just not, to be honest, I've just not been going out, and I've been doing other stuff. I've not been going to the open mic nights, so there probably is people coming through, but you only notice it when they're getting to certain levels. So yeah, I think it's pretty healthy at the moment. Yeah.
the Leicester scene is good. I don't think though that Leicester gets a lot of representation from anywhere else. It's, you know what, there's a huge amount of talent, not just like hip hop artists. You got singers, producers, DJs, and everything. Leicester doesn't really get the recognition that it deserves, and there's some multi-talented, I think, artists in this city. We need to group together a bit more and show them. Although when I go to certain places, certain towns, people are saying, "Oh yeah, from Leicester. Yeah, I've heard about Leicester. Leicester's got this. Leicester's got that. Leicester's vibing. I need to come up there." And I think, okay, we're getting there. You know what I mean? People are, you know, certain little sparks. People are knowing about it, but I don't know what it is. It's like Leicester gets pushed to the back. You know what I mean? It gets pushed, and I don't know why. Where other cities are more predominant, we get pushed to the back. Why? I don't know, because we've got some amazing talent in this city.
I feel that it's growing, and you know, especially Leicester's being put on the map now because of all the football stuff. So yeah, and I think it's growing. I feel as if that a lot more support is needed, definitely, because there's a lot of talent out here in Leicester. You know, from rappers, singers, music producers, promoters. Enough respect to VJ over at Too Funky and VJ over at EAVA FM. I think these guys are really trying to push the hip hop scene out here in Leicester. So salute to them.
You need regular nights. You need something that motivates the people. So you have to have a scene, and the scene needs to revolve around a regular night, which then if people can get on those regular nights, yeah, you might have a half-hour segment. It breeds that thing of, yo, I'm going with so-and-so next week. Hopefully I'm going to get on the mic and I'm going to... So once you've got a scene, or you've got, say, a club night, or whatever genre it is, once a month or whatever, and everybody can go there, you recognise the faces on your scene, you make connections, you know, and you meet more people, that's what would improve it. So you have to have a club night, or some club nights or events to galvanise your scene. So people ain't just doing it in their bedrooms on their own, and it's a solitary activity. It's not about that. It's about seeing the whites of people's eyes, whether the audience, your peers, yeah, that's what it's about. That's what's going to motivate you to drive you on. Doing it in your bedroom is good, and you might get some good results, but there's nothing better than being around it. That's going to push you. That's going to motivate you. You're a fan as well, give you other ideas. So, yeah, if Leicester can have nights, once everything opens back up, for whatever genre, then you can improve whatever scene that you represented, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, I just think there needs to be better information for people going into the industry, because it's an incredibly complex industry around things like intellectual copyright. How do you get an agent? You know, where are these music business solicitors, and why do they cost £300 an hour? Why is it you can get a recording contract that's twice the thickness of this book, right? And you know, there's a lot of technical things about the legalities and for musicians to get their rights, about publishing, about recording, about intellectual copyright. And now there's been stuff around streaming. Streaming is really poor. You know, in terms of getting 1 million streams, you're still getting pennies. You know, it's like, it's unfavorable to the artist, and it's favorable to the Spotify, the Apple, or whatever. That is all wrong. And that needs to change. We need to change and have more better representation of women in the industry right across the board. We need more Black, Asian, and other diverse people across the board. And I'm talking about in management, I'm talking about at the executive level, I'm talking at the level of the decision makers and the gatekeepers. We've got plenty of musicians who are diverse, and writers and rappers and whatever, but I'm talking about the higher levels. The industry doesn't represent on that level.
Got ya.
And I think, you know, the unions aren't doing enough, and some of the organisations are not doing enough to advance the artists' rights.
I think we need to give more opportunities to young people within the scene. We need more nights for people to ply their trade, to play live events, to show their new material. There's just not enough stuff for young people and new artists in and around the scene in Leicester and the Midlands. There really isn't.
I don't think there's anything you really need to improve. Obviously, you just spent the past year playing Xbox and PSs and whatnot, so you've not really been able to go anywhere. So you've kind of been held back. So you can either do two things, either like play your Xbox or learn how to do music. For me, I'm more of a DJ promoter. I just can never sit in a room like this. After an hour, I'll be like, I start itching and I just can't sit still. So, but for promoting, obviously the social side of aspects of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, that's my forte. I've got a team of people, all different ages, that can push, you know, events that I do to different kind of people. So I think Leicester is at a good place. Like I said, once this summer comes by, events start happening off, and obviously you guys go out yourselves and see things yourself, it'll all be good, man.
Stop hiding. Where is everyone? You know, there should be jam sessions for any genre of music. You turn up, there's a house band, you play. Whatever your style, that's how it used to be. And that is the grounding for development, to be able to socialise and interact with other people that don't play your music, you know, and have a go. And I think there's nowhere to have a go. Funnily enough, the drummer, one of the drummers in Project Live, Dave Anderson, who's an unbelievable drummer, he runs a trio. What's the word? A jam session at the Donkey. It's coming back on now, I think. But obviously the pandemic wiped it out. But it was a good place for people to pop in, maybe sing a song, maybe do a rap, play an instrument, you know. And, you know, you need that interaction with people you don't know. That's a real important thing. So you need jam sessions, you need venues. There's not enough venues. All the venues that were here in the 80s have gone. They've all gone. I'm absolutely astonished at how many have gone. And the festivals seem very specific and not, you know, I used to play the Abbey Park Festival when we were teenagers, and that had everybody on the same gig. The rockers, the punkers, the funkers, the scars, the reggae, the soul, the R&B, the rappers. It was on one stage, one after the other. There was no specific order, maybe in terms of who was more famous or more well known, but other than that, everybody played on the same festival. And it was a beautiful thing. You know, you just have thousands of people milling around and watching all the bands. So, you know, despite the fact we are a very mixed society, we don't mix, sadly. So that needs to change. I also noticed that music education is gone from schools. I must have been exceedingly lucky, because all of my headmasters and mistresses from primary school to, you know, till sixth form were all musicians. So music was always an integral part of every school I've been at. And putting on concerts, classical concerts, funky concerts, musicals, choirs, orchestras, local, you know, bands within the school. I remember I did TS, God, you won't remember this, I don't think it exists anymore, TSB Rock School when I was at school, which was like a competition for bands, and we got to the final in Sheffield, you know, and it was an amazing experience. But this is me as a teenager, and the fact that that opportunity isn't available to you is upsetting, because that competition ran for decades. You know, and some bands came out of it and got into the big time. So there is not enough opportunity. So there needs to be more venues. Education needs to have music in it. There's no question. From a mental health point of view, if nothing else, everybody loves music. Whether you're deaf, blind, you know, whatever. whatever problems you may have in your life, the one thing you can guarantee that everybody looks to calm them down, to keep them stable, is music. So to take that out of the education is a really big mistake. And we're starting to see the problems that it's causing. You know, because as much as everybody kind of sees music as a downtime thing, and it is, it's also a mental health thing. It really is important that people get that opportunity to even try to play something, even try to sing a song. It gives you so much joy that it shouldn't be taken out of education. No way. So, you know, I don't think the Leicestershire Schools of Music exists anymore, does it? Does it exist? No. It's called the Rowans. Is that still here? I don't think it is. Exactly. So it's probably not. And that was, you know, I even back in the 80s, I didn't know it existed till I'd nearly left school. But it was a place where all the kids from all the schools in the area, if they played an instrument or they wanted to sing, and it was a Saturday school for music. And a lot of the people that I went to college with came through from that program. A lot of the people I played in bands with came through from that program. So it was, you know, it was a natural progression, and it's gone. If we want to develop the artists that we've got here, and we've got some amazing potential in especially some of the artists I've worked with over the last couple of years. We have the potential to have a great music scene again, but we need to allow people to play, and we need to stop letting people judge who's allowed to play this type of music. If you want to play reggae and you're white, play reggae. Don't listen to anybody. If you want to sing classical music and you're black, sing classical music. Don't listen to anybody. It's nothing to do with anybody but the individual, what you want to play. And I think there's a very unhealthy push towards pigeonholing everybody. Don't let it happen. That's what I want to try and do. And with Project Live, I'm trying to get that through to them. That, you know, don't listen to anyone. Unless you know that they're telling you the truth and they're trying to look out for you, don't listen to anyone. Don't take anyone's advice. And that's a very strange thing, but take my advice. Because I speak what I think. And I've had a vast amount of experience. So I want to help. I don't want to hinder. I want to see you progress. I want to see you develop. And there's a couple of things I've seen in this city that I find quite unsavoury. Certain organisations that I think, it's not really for the artist, that organisation. It's for the notoriety of the person running it. And there's a few of those things I've spotted, and I'm not happy about it.
That's a good question. I think making sure you participate is a really important thing, and not just in your own events, and go and be involved with other people, collaborate, and that's how the scene evolves. If you very much, I want to just do my own thing, you don't get the personal development, and you don't help the scene develop, and it's just your scene developing, which is a bit counterproductive. So yeah, participation, and just getting down and just find what if you want to get involved, just find something that you enjoy and just run with it and see if you really enjoy it. And you never know, as I say, it's the world's your oyster when you just got to try it. And so yeah.
You know what? I love the UK scene. I love the vibes that are coming out. Regardless of what it is that you guys are doing out there, I'm loving it. I think the UK scene on whatever genre kind of music is, the UK is wicked, and everybody's looking at the UK. Everybody's looking at the UK.
Yeah. What changes could we make to improve the scene?
I'm not quite sure, to tell you the truth. I'm not quite sure there's any improvements that are needed in the scene. It's just a case of people just being more together, connecting with one another in different cities, not just here in Leicester, Nottingham, Birmingham, Derby, wherever. Everyone just connecting, because it is about the music. But a lot of times people don't want to connect with other cities because, oh, no, I just want to keep it here, I want to keep it there. But sometimes you need to branch out, you need to go out. Because obviously at some point you're going to be performing in certain cities up and down the country, maybe abroad. So you need to expand and, go look. Yeah.
There's a couple of people that are really trying to push it out there, and I just feel as if that there's a lot more artists that need to be on the limelight as well. There's a lot of talent, and obviously Leicester's on the map now, so I feel that we should all sort of work together,
100%.
and support one another, and just get it out there in Leicester, and more importantly everywhere across the world, really, because Leicester is on the map. So yeah.
Well, my name is Dulzo. How it came to be, my name is Dulzo, and how it came to be was a build up of things like, well, I didn't really like my name for a long time because I was battling my own insecurities, my faith and everything. And then eventually I made some friends, and then because of Odd Future, we started giving each other like little nicknames. We called ourselves ASAP Wolves, because obviously ASAP was like ASAP Mob, and then Wolves, Odd Future Wolfgang. And then yeah, my friend Clayton was like, bro, obviously you need to have a name, and then he started calling me Dulz, and then he was called El Flaco. So obviously I just thought El Dulzo, and then yeah, it just kind of grew from there.
I go by Nia. It's a nickname that I had since I was younger, and then when I featured on someone's song 3 years ago, they just sort of put it in because they didn't know my actual name, so I've just sort of stuck with it since then.
In the industry, I go by TM, and I came up with it just because it was simple and it's my initials.
Go by the name of Endless. I came up with it was kind of random. I started producing, and my producer name was my government name, but I decided I didn't want that. I just thought Endless sounds cool, so I picked it. I wanted something that was timeless and would last a while, so I picked the name Endless because I thought it sounded good.
My name is Astrixx. I came up with it when I was about 18. I used to be in a music group we used basically the initials from my first name. It was ART, and then we scrapped that, and I was like, right, I need an MC name. So I started going through them. I started looking into it. There was stuff like A star, A1, A9, this, that, and the other. And then I come across an old cartoon character called Astrixx. It's called Astrixx, so it's not Astrixx. And basically, I watched it when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my days, Astrixx. And then I thought, okay, let me see, does it work? How am I going to spell it? Spell it out. And then I did it it was ASTRIX. And then I went out, searched it, see who had it, found there's a trance producer that has millions of followers. So I was like, damn, got to change it, add another X. So I put 2 X's on, and that's how I came up with Astrixx.
I go by 2 names in the industry. First one is Loaneski. So I got that name whilst I was studying the Quran at a local mosque at the age of 15. And one day, one of the class members turned around and said, yo, Loaneski. And I thought, that's a really, really interesting name. So it's stuck by since then. The second name that I go by is Taoreta. So I'm in a group alongside DJ Icon, who is from Leicester as well. Now, Taoreta comes from the Japanese language, and what that means is collapse.
Okay, so my name is Bav. In the industry, I'd say more commonly known as Abeo, A-B-E-O. And you know what, that name, it just kind of came from random moments or random nothingness. The typical definition is to depart from life, meaning to leave your physical body and use your spiritual body. That's just way too deep, do you know what I mean? So, but the way I spun that back in the day was just, I want my music to take you to a different type of place. But nowadays, people just know me as Bav, B-A-V, Beats and Vocals. I run a studio, Beats and Vocal Studios. That's my name, Bav, so that's just what people call me, Bav.
Well, I'm Joe, or Joe Doyle, or Homeless Shakespeare and the Pigeon, or Homeless Shakespeare in the Pigeon Theatre, or the man behind Pigeon Coop Studios, based at Clarence Street Studios. And I've worked in all sorts of projects for Too Funky Arts, mainly as a bassist. projects live and grime sessions and project band, working with young people and young artists to develop their songs and develop their abilities and crafts and art and performance through working with a band as well. And as Pigeon Coop Studios, I run an open day once a year, where I've had people come down for bass lines or consultation and mentoring, or to record a couple tracks, get a little video and stuff like that. And then I also do sound at the Sheds before all of the lockdown. I will be back. Where I like to kind of like bring people together and catalyse the scene a bit.
My name is Kulvader. I go by Kulvader, and I also go by KV33 Photography as well. Kulvader is my artist name. I chose it because Kul is the first half of my first name, which is Kulvader, and there's a V in there as well. I like Darth Vader. I like Star Wars. I thought Vader actually means father as well, so technically I'm called Kulvader, but there's reasons for that. But I thought Kulvader, it sounds cool, and I thought, you know what, that works, that gets my point across, and it works, and it's similar to my name, but it's different to my name as well, and it kind of incorporates my love of Star Wars as well as like other bits and bobs as well. The KV33 Photography, that's quite literally, that's my gig music photography name, and it's the Kulvader, so the K and the V, which is the first and the fourth letter of my proper name and my artist name. Thought put them together. 33 is one of my favourite numbers. Well, 3 is my favourite number. 33, I thought that works well. I was 33 when I came up with actually I was 32, but I was coming up to my 33rd birthday when I came up with the name. I thought, yeah, that works. I really like it, and just the whole thing with triangles and 3 sides and all of that stuff. So that's my artist name. That's why I've chosen it.
Okay, the name I go by is Zeropence, or Zero for short. The philosophy behind Zeropence is that the number 0 is actually not a number. It's a mathematical placeholder which can be replaced by a figure like infinity. It means that it shows the duality of life, basically. It shows the smallest and the most largest. 0 being nothing, no thing. But within the no thing, there is everything. So that's what 0 is about. The pence part of things is about finance, global finance, capitalism, anti-capitalism. And the whole thing together, it sounds like a bit of a gimmick, or it might be a bit comical and stuff like that. I might get a few laughs or some heckles, but then that invites the person to then listen to my words and look into my writing, which might change your opinion.
Basically, the name I go by is Bornready Films. Basically, the way I came up with it was originally it was a clothing idea.
Yep.
I wanted to get into clothing and basically like make my own little clothing line and stuff like that. So it pretty much was the idea that I needed to basically think of a clothing line name, and I just couldn't think of anything. So my friends used to use that all the time. Like when we used to always talk about, hurry up and get ready. If we were gonna go out, they would be like, what's it called? I'm born ready, so I don't need to get ready. Basically, all of these kind of things. So I kind of like the way that became a thing. So like that was one of the catchphrases we used to say. So I don't know. I just thought it'd be a good like clothing line, and then when I started getting into filming, I felt like I needed a name. I didn't want to use my actual real name, so I thought I needed an alias. So that's how that came about. So it was just a natural progression to use it for filming as well. So yeah.
I go by the name of Lloyd, and that's actually my middle name. It's my granddad's on both sides names. So my granddad on my mom's side, granddad on my dad's side, Lloyd Lufo. So that's how I came up with that.
Comprehend is the name I go by. I didn't actually come up with it. It was down to a friend of mine. My real name is Hendrik, and he thought because the stuff I rap about is quite conscious, but Comprehend is a perfect name.
So my artist name is Mr.Shay. My full name is Akshay. So quite clearly, I chopped it in half and I got Shay. But the reason it's Mr. is because A, I like the authority of somebody calling me Mister. B, I'm in education, so I'm a teacher anyway. So I don't like children calling me Mr. Sharma. So I'd rather have Mr. Shay. It's a bit more informal, and it's my stage name, in fact. And then thirdly, I used to watch this guy called Mr. Hudson and the something on the library. Mr. Hudson and the library. So he was one artist or band that I really like to listen to, and I like the Mr. in his name. It felt quite authoritative, so that's why I'm Mr. Shay.
Boom. My industry name is N-Wiz. To be honest, I didn't really come up with it, innit? The man them came up with it, my friends came up with it. Started calling me. Like, it's not really my industry name, it's just my name in general, innit? It's just everywhere I go, that's just my name, innit? Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Enarjay is actually like the initials in my actual name, Neeraj. Like, for example, like they got N for Norman, R for Romeo, J for July, you know what I'm saying? So it was originally that, like, I've been having it since I was like 12, 13. Yeah, actually not, probably was 12 because I was back in Birmingham. And that was like when this grime started just coming up over there, like everyone had Channel U and everything, and I just got involved in it. Thought of a cool MC name, you know what I'm saying? That's how I started out. I started rapping, MCing, before I became a producer. But it was just only recently started calling myself Enarjay 808 the Terminator, just like a nice little change. Reason being 808. I just love 808, I love trap music, you know what I mean? Say what you want about it, but I love my 808, you know what I'm saying? And the Terminator, simply because I love what sci-fi. And you know, the Terminator, like 6'2" in height, and got a thing in electronics, everyone knows, and synthesizers and everything. So, yeah, man, like the whole thing is Enarjay 808 the Terminator. And that's how it just came about.
I would say the art form I mainly use to connect with people at the moment would be rap, and then I'm kind of going more into like melodic rap. The other art forms would be I do filmmaking on YouTube, I do like skits, so it's just like skits, little films, short films, I do lyric videos, I also do studio engineering, which is like a big one to me right now because it's connecting me with like people from all different cultures and traditions. Like I've had South African music sang to me, I've had Italian music recorded, and it's just mind-blowing every time.
I like producing, and I normally produce drill and trap beats just because I find it easier. But I prefer singing to like R&B songs, and yeah, I think I work well with any artist. I don't really mind.
So I'm a rapper, and I don't really have a genre. Like at a time, I was heavily trap, then I was heavily hip hop, and now I kind of just whatever beat sounds good and whatever I feel like the beat's telling me to say, I just say that. And I also do hosting and radio and stuff.
My main art form is producing, definitely. Make a lot of beats. Started venturing into engineering. I also do different types of art, such as graphic design, video editing, stuff like that. But it's mainly producing. And as for genres, really, it's mostly like rap, hip-hop, mostly like trap stuff. But really, I can make a range of different genres, from R&B to drill to quite a lot of things, really, if I try to.
Media, music, live performances. I do youth work. Genres of music, I don't have a specific, because I've got a thing that I call the genre ICP. I'm trying to cover the most genres because I've got 12 by now and I don't know anyone that does more. But my specialities have got to be grime, rap, trap, and I'd say probably R&B. I've got a soft spot for the girls, you know what I'm saying?
So, in terms of the art forms that I use to engage people with, it would be songwriting, MCing, poetry, live performance. I do a bit of acting as well. I write scripts for short films and music videos. In the past, I've used art forms such as radio. I've used art forms such as production, mix and mastering, sound engineering, and light engineering as well. In terms of the genres that I specialize in or that I associate myself with, I would have to say that it's hip-hop, boom bap hip-hop in particular, but also at the same time I would say that it's also experimental, as a lot of the times will mix hip hop with Japanese folk music, as an example, or Chinese folk music, even a bit of salsa music, you know, and a bit of Italian music as well. So yeah, they're the genres that I work with, and they're the art forms that I have.
I'd say genre specifics. I started off on a lot of rock, metal. I grew up on kind of grime and hip hop. So when I was going through my kind of adolescent stages, just rebelled against it and went straight into the rock and the metal. And then I learned about music in a band. I learned about, you know, I used to play drums when I was about 12 years old. Learned about music like that. And then from there, maybe from, I'd say 15, 16, maybe 17, kind of, I went into finishing off secondary school, went into college to study music. That wasn't the plan A, but it just ended up happening. And then from there, like, instead of playing drums, I wanted to get more into like recording the drums, engineering the drums, producing the drums. And then from there, that's how I learned engineering. That's how I learned studio magic. That's how I learned everything to do with sound engineering. And then from there, I just stopped. I just stopped playing drums, stopped doing the metal stuff, and I just fully dived straight into the production. I've been using FL Studio since it came out, or since I was like 8 years old. So I've seen it from the very, very, very start all the way up to the most cutting edge industry standard and leading the industry piece of kit. So as that was evolving, I was just evolving with it and learning it more and more and more. And so nowadays I make R&B, loads of roots and reggae, R&B, dub, trap. Don't really make drill too tough, but rap, work a lot with rappers, so a lot of hip hop music. Generally just music from all over the urban scenes, whether it's electronic dance music to literally just deep and dark old school hip hop, all over it.
Well, as a sound engineer, I've worked a lot of open mics at the Shed, and you know, I kind of like to network and kind of catalyse, bring people together for collaboration, and even just for gigs, you know. And then I've run open days at the Pigeon Coop Studios as well, where I've had artists come down just for bass lines, or, you know, even just to record a couple bars, or even just for a bit of advice, a bit of mentoring or coaching or direction. And then as a session player, I get involved with all of the Too Funky Arts Project Live and grime sessions and all of that, which are really rewarding, because as artist development projects go, you know, watching how they come in at the start to when they finish, you know, their confidence and their competence, it's really rewarding. Yeah.
I do photography as my mainstay. That's like my main thing, and that's my immediate main access into the music scene and other musicians and artists around me. I also produce music, so I make beats, I make instrumentals and that kind of stuff, and I'm also a drummer as well. So I've been taking drum lessons since I was 11. Had like a 10-year gap, but I've been properly taking it for the past 4 years, coming up to about 5 years. But my drumming has translated into percussion, so I'm a percussionist in a band, and I'm also a percussionist in a duo as well with one of my friends, Rosa. And so in the band, it's a 12-piece jazz band, so we do improvised jazz music, and the duo is just like pop songs done in a folky way, so it's folk music as well. In terms of my photography, I've taken pictures of the hip-hop scene in Leicester, of the rock scene, the indie scene, the alternative experiment electronic scene, the jazz scene, and just other bits and bobs as well.
The art forms that I use to engage with people is, apart from the music side of things, I engage with the local community through an organisation called Anarchy Arts. And with this, we use all the different genres of music, such as rap, hip-hop, grime, electronic music, classical, experimental, live music. That's one section of it. And then we've got things like visual art. So we've got live graffiti, then we've got live dance. We've got all the different art forms under one sort of roof. And these are regular events that occur in Leicester. And with that as well, I've actually done a few workshops with the Youth Education Project as well. So engaging with young people with things like rap, engaging with other sectors of the community such as the arts, poetry, and all of these things. So that's that part. The genres of music for myself would be, again, so rhythmical lyricism, so we can call that rap. And then it's not necessarily hip hop, because hip hop, I would say, is based on a particular branch of music and a type of melody and beat arrangement, American and UK as well, more sort of later on. And then we've got grime, we've got drum and bass. So these are different formats of music, different beat arrangements and different speeds, which rap can be put onto. So call it rap, call it MCing, whether it's on drum and bass, grime, hip hop, it's rap, which is more universal. And then the things that I have rapped over are things like live guitar and cello, tabla, sitar, and these sorts of things. So then going on from there, alongside the rap, something more recent in the last few years is I've been studying Indian classical music, namely Indian classical singing. So it's a very complex, rhythmical, melodical sort of discipline. And now some of the stuff I'm coming out with and sort of writing and things like this is a fusion of the two. So we've got rap, so we've got electronica, bass line, all of this sort of stuff mixed with Indian ragas and sort of classical Eastern sounds. So that's on the music side of things, and on the actual vocal side of things, it would be sort of rap, or like I say, rhythmical lyricism mixed with traditional type of folk singing, which is also based on certain rhythms and melodies and stuff like that. So yeah, there you go.
So in regards to actually like what I use is basically majority of the time I would say visuals, because I originally my actual main interest was in photography. So then I progressed into videos. So basically what the situation was, right, is I've always been into creative art, so I've always liked art and graphics and stuff like that. So it was just natural for me to go into videos anyway. So I started to dabble with photography, and then it just progressed to videos, and started doing music videos for people, and that's how I basically pulled people in basically. And in regards to mentoring people, I mean, I definitely feel like it's important to give back. Like no matter wherever you go in life, it's always important to help others. So I would definitely consider mentoring people that are interested in doing it, not just people that they're kind of interested, like to a certain. Like, I'm sorry, let me just start that again. Like I wouldn't mind helping people out as long as they show interest, because I don't want to be in a case where they don't really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I don't want to kind of force anyone to do it.
I would say grime, but then I'd at the moment I kind of just do everything. Anything that comes to my mind, I just kind of do it. So it could be drill, could be grime, could be hip hop, could be trap. But I think underneath all of it, there's like a reggae undertone. I think that's where my bass comes from, because obviously, like, my family is Jamaican, so I think that's where the undertone is always reggae and ragga and bashment and stuff like that.
Yeah, so my forte, so to speak, is lyricism, as I'm a rapper. So rap, hip hop, trap, any sort of variation of rap is my sort of specialty.
So my art forms are producing. So on Logic, I like to produce my own beats, my own music. I use the loop station to create vocal beats and pieces of music. I write and spit bars, so I'm a rapper, I'm MC. So they're my art forms. I like poetry. Poetry is a massive thing. So a lot of my life and a lot of my work is poetry. So doing commissions for the council, doing like for different companies and stuff. So as well as just being artistic and creative with it. And I use video. Video is a really, really big thing. So doing visuals, music videos, poetry videos, things like that. The genre is hip hop. So I grew up on grime music, garage music. This is what I loved. It's what I started with. But then I found hip hop after that. It's the other way around for most people, but hip hop raised me. So yeah, that's what I do now.
I specialize in the most real rap, hip hop, drill, grime, anything really. It's not flipping rock music. Anything apart from that, man can get get boogie with it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Yeah, that's about it, really. Everything.
Music and art, that's one of the ways I engage with people. I do graphic designs, illustrations. You know what I'm saying? That has always been my thing, the way I express myself since I was a child, since I was about 6, 7. Been drawing ever since, just like copying and tracing Spider-Man comics, X-Men, and things like that. Started getting into more technical stuff like afterwards that. Because I really got into comics, and then afterwards it was anime, manga, you know what I'm saying? Copying and tracing Dragon Ball Z later. Wanted to make my own characters that looked like that. And yeah, it was like that since I was a kid. Since I was, I don't know, after that, like I said earlier, you know, getting into like grime and everything like that. And hip hop. Got a copy of Fruity Loops. At the time it was, forgot what, Cool Edit Pro, that was one of the ones, you know what I'm saying? Using download a couple of instrumentals, rap over it, get Cool Edit Pro, just do a little mixing, so to say. It wasn't that good, but it was still a mix. And I just doing it ever since. But now, like at the minute, grown up, learnt a lot of skills with it and everything. You know what I mean? And it's just lo-fi hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like at the minute, I'm getting known for that. It's surprising because like trap music, like 808s and stuff like that. But recently been experimenting with lo-fi hip hop music. You know, just got a thing for old school hip hop and everything. You know, like Gangstar, Loot Pack, Madlib, J Dilla, R.I.P. Guru, R.I.P. You know what I'm saying? Just all those kind of music. Like I love those kind of music. So you know what I'm saying? We just wanted to emulate that kind of feel. And I'm a vinyl record collector as well. Always been in that like music in my family. It's always been a thing. Just always been collecting tapes and everything. Later I was onto vinyl for myself. Wanted to copy Madlib. You know what I'm saying? Started looking at a couple of stuff. Like how those type of producers, particularly DJ Premier and Madlib, you know, how they're going out there, like, had a thing called crate digging. And it was just been a thing ever since. Just doing that, just like ripping cassettes and vinyl and just making beats out of it. You know what I'm saying? Got the machine right here, this bad boy. You know what I'm saying? So that slice of beats with samples with that. Just put some boom bap drums on it and that's it. So those are ways I do express myself, yeah. So yeah, man.
My opinion on the scene right now is thriving, growing, and engaging. Like people are connecting more and more. Like give or take, I would say about when I was 12, so 2012, I see a massive difference. That's when I gained an interest in music. Just seeing like my friends Patrick and his bro, like them doing their music thing with Team Planet A, and then obviously seeing how they got off the scene because of opportunities and lack of, and just me being where I am now. I've seen that massive difference. It's like opportunities like this that have kept me going, kept me thriving, where I had moments of undersold value in myself and low self-esteem. Like people like Loaneski, people like just all these type of stuff kept me pushing.
I think the Leicester scene is quite busy, quite diverse, but I think it's very underground right now. Like if you asked artists to, you know, list other artists that they've worked with, they might not actually list that many because it's not like mainstream, but it is there. It is there.
I don't know, it's a bit of a difficult question considering like the past year we've been isolated and stuff, but before that and even coming out of that and like luckily during lockdown I was lucky enough to perform on Halloween at a Too Funky show and I have another show that we're shooting tomorrow. So the scenes, it's together and it's very like everybody knows each other, so if there's an event that's one of the hosts that you're good for, you're definitely going to get that email.
Currently I think on the scene, I think a lot of music's starting to sound the same. I feel like that might be because of the lockdown. There's been a lack of creativity within a lot of people. I feel like soon now everything's opening up again, creativity's gonna come, so stuff's gonna start sounding different. I know for sure I'm making stuff what no one else is making. But,
If it's to do with Leicester, we are thriving hard right now. We've got a few big names that are pushing, they're continually shedding light on the city. There's a lot of people in the city that are doing works. My best way to describe it would be progressive right now. We've took leaps and bounds. I can see a lot of artists that I've seen 5 years ago, their music's upping and upping and upping. People are getting further, they're pushing for stuff. And we have a strong scene of artists. There is a good at least 20 to 25 artists I could probably name. I'm not going to, but I could easily, that have got music that could touch the charts, that could compete with all the other artists that are really trying to say, well, we've got the best music. Well, Leicester's got a good scene as well.
So currently, it's nice to see that more and more people are getting involved in our urban scene in Leicester. It's nice to see that there's a lot of healthy competition. However, at the same time, we're not a very inviting or welcoming scene. There is a lot of toxic behavior as well, to the point where I know several people no longer attend live shows, and this is because just the energy that's going around in the scene, and that needs to stop. There are also certain heads that did work maybe 20-25 years ago. They've not done anything new since then, and they are actually trying to cherry pick the next generation, and I believe that's completely wrong. At the end of the day, everybody should have an opportunity to express themselves as much as they can. So yeah, I'm not saying let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya songs around a fire pit. No, what I'm saying is let's fix up, let's work on our professionalism. Yeah, professionalism takes you a very long way compared to if you just believe, right, I'm going to make it just based on my talent. If you've not got professionalism, if you don't know how to talk to people, you're not going to get nowhere in life, period.
Obviously, I'm not even going to go into the whole COVID thing. That's just, that's just put a whole different spin on everything. So it wouldn't be fair to comment on the scene at this time because of COVID. But, I've seen a lot of people still during this time put on a lot of, try and switch it and do online showcases and stuff like that, which is great. But if we just talk about the scene generally, it's fragmented. It's very divided. I know people are going to say it's like, oh, a lot of local kind of scenes are like that. And it's true, a lot of, local scenes, there's a lot of ego involved, there's a lot of division involved. But here in Leicester, it just seems to be, overly exaggerated, and there's so much beef, for very silly reasons, realistically. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of pride in the way, there's a lot of ego in the way. There's a lot of people that don't want to give rise to a lot of younger generations and kind of want to be very selective rather than just letting young people get involved with music and just have a go, So I feel like there needs to be a lot more kind of openness and to be honest, a lot more honesty. If you're not about something or you don't want to be involved with something, don't blag it, just say it. Do you know what I mean? Honesty gets people very, very far, and I think a lot of people in the local scene forget that.
Quite hard to tell with the whole situation and the gap. It's quite hard to remember anything like where it was beforehand as well. But as I remember, it was on the cusp of bubbling over, and it was a very exciting time. And I know that live attendance was like skyrocketed after the first lockdown. So with that happening again, I think that it's about time that the scene's about to burst out. And with Easy Lice releasing their first album as well, I think that there was a lot of passion displayed over lockdown as well, with loads of the open mic nights were still running, just like doing kind of shared streams and stuff like that. There was a huge sense of community going on and support, because it was a horrible time for a lot of people, and it was really nice to see the kind of shared support and empathy going on. And I'm really looking forward to, seeing it back in action, because with this much time to practice, I can only imagine what the incredible talent that already was is going to be like now.
It's like any other scene in the UK, but it's also different from any other scene in the UK. Leicester's really, really unique in the sense of it's got a very strong hip-hop scene. It's got also strong scenes linked with other genres as well. I'll give you an example. The jazz scene in Leicester is popping. Of the indie scene and alternative DIY scene in Leicester is popping. The rock and hip hop and all the other different types of rock scenes that you get, different subgenres of rock music, that is popping. There's a history of drum and bass in Leicester, drum and bass jungle, that's still popping. You've got a whole bunch of other things happening. they're also popping. And the sad thing is, there's no one big unified scene with crossover and everyone knows about each other. So there's not one big overarching scene in Leicester. There's little bubbles of scenes. But the encouraging thing is, and this has been happening for a very long while, you had events like Anarchy, House of Verse, Paid in Pizza, a few other events where, say, you got like, say 10 performers, yeah? And out of those 10 performers, they're all going to be from different genres. So you might have a spoken word artist, and there's like 4 or 5 different spoken word events, spoken word scenes popping. There you might have a couple of hip hop artists that's linked with spoken word, so there's a crossover there. The hip hop artist, there's a crossover with the jazz artist as well. So there are crossovers, but sadly not as much as I would want or expect to. And it's like there needs to be more cohesion in the scene overall in Leicester. There's going to be problems naturally because you're dealing with people with different opinions, right? So you're going to have person A might view something in one way, person B might have an opposite opinion. So that might cause issues. Obviously, naturally dealing with people, you're going to have issues as well. And it's the extent of which people take offense to certain things that's a problem. There's also egos as well. So if you get a bit of clout, if you get a bit of hype around you, your ego might go huge, right? So what I say to everyone, try to be as humble as possible. Try to view everyone on the same level as you, whether they're a big superstar or they're just starting out. Like, everyone has that same journey. We're starting out to get to the point where they want to be. There's no one's got a journey that's different to anyone else's. Yeah, the individualness of your journey might be different. The circumstances you might go through that different. But you still got to build your way up. You still got to climb them stairs. Still got to climb that mountain. Like, there's no fast track route. Some people, the rich millionaires, right, yeah, the ones that hit pop in the charts, they got lots of funding behind them, they got a totally different avenue. But if you're doing it independent artist, you're going to be climbing the set of stairs that the people that came before you did, and the people that come after you. All you're doing it is making it easier for the people that are coming after you to do.
My opinion on the scene currently, something... Like I say, like I spoke about rap and that not necessarily being attached to hip hop or grime or whatever that is, the lyricism being a sort of separate thing. I'm probably not a person who's absolutely in touch with all of the urban scenes going on in Leicester. I'm more of sort of that multi-genre thing, but over the last few years, I am really impressed with some of the organisations that are around and doing things at the moment, bringing hip hop and grime, especially for young people, because that's where it's at as well. Because for me, the things that I do and engage with this art form isn't just about, you know, feeling good and doing something for myself, but it's about making an impact on the community, giving back to where I came from, and doing things for people at the time and giving them the influences and the right opportunities and avenues to really grow and turn their lives around, especially at a critical point, which would be, you know, as a youth in that sort of teenage sort of age. And there are some really great organizations doing regular things with grime, hip hop, rap, MCing, and it's really encouraging to see. I hope more of this comes about. I think, again, these genres of music compared to other genres in society may have a bad reputation or be tainted with certain connotations, which doesn't allow it to flourish and get the recognition that other genres do. But, you know, Leicester's going for it, and there are certain people doing their thing and pushing that forward, so more and more to come.
Yeah. Currently, the scene is crazy. Like, it's literally booming right now. There's a lot of big talent coming out of Leicester, but it's been happening like that for years. Since, you know, like, since before I was even born, like, Leicester has always had a rich artistic culture, from music to just, you know, different kind of facets of, you know, the creative field, and, you know, just academically as well. Like, there's always been people that are just doing crazy stuff. But I definitely feel like the scene right now is it's almost like, I wouldn't say like it's not been at a peak before, but it's definitely peaking because people are getting signed to like Universal. People are going like, you know, like to London and making their name. So yeah, I feel like the current scene right now is definitely doing a big, you know, it's definitely doing big things right now. So yeah.
I think compared to like, I would say 8 years ago when I first started like trying to do it serious, we've got like stars now. That's it, like, we've got stars now, so you can only look at it as positive. I think obviously from a grassroots level there might be more stuff that we could do, but when I see it now and all the artists that we've got that are literally breaking through now, like known, not if not worldwide, like nationally, I think the scene is looking healthy. I think it's looking more positive than it was a few years ago. A few years ago, we had no stars, so I think that's a massive change.
I think the UK scene is banging at the minute. I think there's a lot of artists independently making a name for themselves and then bringing through other artists, which is great to see. In terms of the Leicester scene, I think it's getting better and better. The level of talent coming out of the woodwork is getting better and better. So yeah, I think the scene's growing, definitely.
It's better than last year, I can tell you that.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
So I think the music scene in Leicester is obviously now we've got COVID, so I'll talk about it before COVID, just before it, and we were bubbling. Like Leicester's music scene was bubbling. It was putting itself on the map. We had the likes of Jafro, Kamikaze, Queen Mills, Trinity Banks, JB, Schofield, doing bits for the city and putting us on the map. Things like Fight Grime Aside, you know, we came second we were in the finals with Kama and those guys doing good for us. But in terms of locally, I feel like we've got everybody's doing things in their own little camps. So and I think they're doing it well. So you've got people like HQ, you've got people like obviously Youth Education Project, Pedestrian, everyone's doing their community music thing, which is great. But in terms of, you know, performing, gigs, venues, things like that, I think we could definitely improve on it. I like the fact that old relics like the Shed have been refurbed and brought back to a younger audience. I like that, you know, things like that is really good. Venues, you know, Curve Theatre, we had a breaking convention, hip hop festival, but that happened only once, and it was amazing to see hip hop in Curve Theatre, such a big venue. But I'd like to see more, especially if Curve Theatre is such a big place, a big venue, to get more people, more diverse range of people into that venue. I think we need to do more like the hip hop festivals and breaking convention that we did a few years ago. We definitely need to bring it back. It'd be nice to have more diversity on lineups. You know, people like I feel like we had quite a few open mic nights as well, which were doing really well, just giving people that regularity of performance. But yeah, maybe more, you know, bigger, impactful events, festivals where the local scene comes together in on one stage would be amazing to see more of.
Washed liars. That's what I got to say. Wait until the new Endless comes out, yeah, then you will see what real rappers are and what real rappers are about. You get me? Because everyone in the game is washed, fam. Cappers, I'm showing you now. You heard it here first. Cappers, bro. Especially man from Leicester. Cappers, bro. You get me?
My opinion on the scene currently, things is amazing out there. Like it really is. You know what I'm saying? Internet's helping people get more collaborations. Helping get in touch with like-minded people. A lot of events there around the local community as well, like loads of labels, community organisations, even you know what I'm saying? Like they try to get a lot of artists on the local scene involved with each other and doing it. And like I said earlier, like internet's definitely helps. I can only speak from my own experience there as well. You know what I'm saying? A bit like don't want to blow my own horn, but a bit of a chatty guy, you know what I'm saying? What names are around there and everything, but you know, get in touch with people, learning from them, and even the local scene. You know what I mean? So yeah, based upon all that, things are just looking brilliant for the scene. I think everyone's open-minded as well. Got a lot of youngsters, you know what I'm saying, interested in other types of music. Not just hip-hop grime anymore, like loads of people want to get other instruments like guitars, etc., throw that in. They want to get influenced by punk, heavy metal, rap metal. You know what I'm saying? Like, got a lot of good ideas coming out and everything from the scene, and everything. Like, I can't really complain. Got more record shops as well. Got lots of CDs, and even during lockdown, loads of people have been trying hard, like, to make some events and everything. Like, loads of people want to still perform, doing live events, etc. So I think everything's looking good and positive, especially for Leicester as well. Small city, got lots of labels, artists, producers, etc. Such a small city, but it's doing big things as well. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from Brum and everything, but it's doing well. It's like Leicester's getting up there, definitely. And my take on the scene is just perfect as it is, and it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Ooh, I'd honestly say people just need to raise up each other's self-value. That's the biggest change for me personally. Because it's, even if you're talking about whether it's knife crime or even the littlest crime, it just comes to that person saying, this person's got something, I don't have it. And instead of them thinking to themselves, I know I can work to get it, they think I have to get it from somebody else. And that was my problem as a teenager. With everything that I always wanted to attain, yeah, I was, like I am now, an ambitious kid. So I would get my hands on it real quick. And then, boom, the things I couldn't get, it wouldn't make sense to me why I couldn't get them. So it then messed up my self-value system. And then, boom, I see somebody else with something I want. I was more likely to rob them. I was more likely to do a stupid action. But now, coming to the senior hand name, like, coming to it all, I'm a now much more inbuilt person, a much stronger person because, well, above everything, I now have faith in myself. And, well, we just got to raise up the faith in everybody.
I think there needs to be a bigger support system. So in terms of how we communicate with one another, because right now it's very social media based. So like Instagram, sharing on stories and stuff. But it could be more if there was like actual things to go to, like events and stuff.
Maybe more projects with every individual community. Like, so we have Yap, Pedestrian, HQ, Soft Touch. And if we had like more projects where they all work together, I feel like that could help the scene.
I think there needs to be more communication between artists and producers specifically. I feel like people need to start paying their producers on time, as I feel like if they did, that they would just work better together and the records would just come out better as there's a more natural like energy, you know what I mean, to create. When there's just a lack of communication, like you feel like there's just a lack of motivation to really make anything with that specific person or whatever, you know what I mean? So really the main thing to improve the scene, I'd say, is communication, definitely, between every party involved, whether it's managers, producers, artists, labels, everyone just needs to communicate more.
Unity. That is the only thing I can say, is just unity. A lot of people like to, obviously, I get you want to carve your lane and you want to push your stuff, but while you're carving your lanes and pushing, there's a lot of opportunities for your friends or your other artists that you know to get involved, and it only boosts further. You could never outshine someone else's light. Your own light is your own light, and that's that. Unity has to be the biggest thing for Leicester. I think we are quite diverse, and a lot of people are a bit, I'd say, reluctant to deal with other people because they only kind of keep it. It's because it's like a small city mentality. But it's growing. More people are uniting, you know what I mean? It's slowly progressing there. But yeah, unity. That has to be, I'd say.
So first of all, if we have a look around the city, there aren't many urban venues in Leicester. The only urban venue we can call home is Too Funky Music Cafe. You can say that Dryden Social Club is a venue that puts on urban nights, not that many on a regular basis. And obviously we can mention the O2 as well, but in order to get onto the O2 arena, you have to be a certain caliber of artist. You know, somebody like, for example, a Kamikaze, a Mahalia, a Trillery Banks, they can go to the O2 and they can sell that out because they've got that mass following. So if we had more urban venues, I think that would be great for the scene because it'll create more opportunities and, again, healthy competition. I also think it's a good idea if more of us who are classified as creatives or practitioners start doing more workshops with the young people. again, it's always great. It's a great way to keep the scene thriving when you have acts that are passing on their knowledge, their experiences as well. And what else would I say? And just more acts, producers, musicians, videographers, photographers, songwriters, MCs, poets, everybody, sound engineers, everybody that's involved in our scene. I think if they start taking people under their wing and mentoring them at the same time, that would be great. Obviously, just remember, a mentor is somebody that's not only looking after individuals below them and teaching them about their industry or life, but they're also improving on themselves as well. So if we did these couple of things, I really do believe that we'd be thriving. I mean, there's already a lot of open mic nights. I know there's pro artists. I know there's a paid in pizza or paid by pizza, which is run by Clarence Street. I know HQ does a open mic night. I know the Sound House does as well, and so does the Shed. So it's nice to have all these different open mic nights. But again, I think we need to sit down and have a look at what's the reason behind these open mic nights. Like, what are we trying to do? Are we just trying to put on event after event?
You know, you would have heard it all over the place, but unity, you know. Touching about what I said is honesty, realistically. Just be real. Don't be... And that, whether you think about that as like an artist saying something or rapping or singing about stuff they're not involved with, or kind of, you know, giving that different type of side or persona to them, or whether that literally just means be honest with the people you work with. You know, be clean, be honest. If you don't do something or you don't want to be involved with something, just be straight up and say it. More improvements would be, to be honest, a big improvement is more actual venues for urban music and for young people to get involved with. We have a lot of open mic nights, great, I love it. But there's no specific home for urban music, apart from Music Cafe. You know, we all know Music Cafe, but realistically, the Music Cafe is not doing a jam, and they're not out there actively putting like some young urban artists on or local artists on. Where else is doing it? You know, obviously they can't just be the only responsible venue to go and do that for our scene. So I think there needs to be a lot of, I think there needs to be a bit more funding to be able to help these venues, you know, put on these local acts, because obviously it's all about, you know, the revenue generated from certain nights, and sometimes the urban music scene isn't very, they don't want to spend a lot of money on the bar and stuff like that. You know, I see that example from the roots in the dub scene. You know, the venues themselves, they don't make a lot of money from them type of nights. So when it comes to urban music, I feel like there needs to be a bit more of an influx of, you know, money towards them venues, so that the young people can get involved without the venue having to then suffer from losing on the bar or no one turning up to the event. I think there needs to be, that might not be the right way to go around it, but I feel like there needs to be a safety net for young people and local artists to be able to just get involved, get stuck in, be proactive, and yeah. The last one though, be honest, don't lie.
Collaboration. Yeah, I think, yeah, collaboration as well as a lot of funding. Because I think that, you know, I think Leicester's always been a bit neglected, and I think that we're starting to bubble over now. I think, as you know, as I said, and yeah, I think that artists, when they come together, it's so much easier to be creative. I mean, over lockdown, I've myself has struggled to, you know, think about lyrics and, you know, write music sometimes, because I'm just so uninspired. Whereas when I've had somebody to bounce back off of, it's just become so much easier. And I think that, you know, content is key in the digital age of music. And the more we collaborate, the more content we'll be putting out as Leicester artists. And the more we can do that, the more we can build up this kind of collective spirit, the more we can conquer, frankly.
I think, honestly, the changes we can make is if doing workshops with young people to show young people, actually, look, it's easy to do this, it's easy to do that, and be smart about it, and being like, this is what I've done, this is how I'm going to show you how to do it, but these are the problems that I came with. You don't have to have these problems, right? Because this is what I found out by having these problems. Naturally, the only way you're going to learn is by making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with being a failure, because that just shows you did something and it didn't work out. Now you know how to do it another way. And the best thing we can do in this scene, to keep this scene alive, to keep this scene going, to keep it going for years and years and years, right? All the older heads are coming up into the scene now, right? And I'm probably third generation in this, yeah? So there's people around me that are third generation, people that are above me that are second generation, but then you got the older heads, which are the first generation. They did it in the early 90s. And I've seen these people come back and they're giving their experience, their time, their knowledge to the youngers, right? And that is important, because without the old elders and without me telling the youngers, right, how are the youngers going to know? How are they going to be like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this? And how are they going to get into it? So again, I'm at the top of the stairs, or I'm halfway up the stairs, and there's youngers at the bottom of the stairs. I'll be like, look, just take a step up, take the first step, take the second step, take the third step. And then you're passing your knowledge on to the youngest. And then the elders are passing their knowledge on to me. That's making me a better person, making me more knowledgeable. I want to pass that on to the youngest. So we've got a system coming. We've got people coming. If at any point there's a break in the system, then there's a problem. Then we have to look at that and we have to address the situation.
Over the last couple of years, the urban scene in Leicester has, been taking some really great forward steps, establishing regular events, recording facilities, recording record labels, and all of these sorts of things. I do see, in terms of publicly speaking, there is a sort of lack of funding in these areas, in these scenes. A lot of the people have to do things by themselves. There's very little support from the arts community, or say things like the Arts Council, or sort of music projects in general. Other genres of music can be favoured a lot more, and there is already that opportunity. And again, with these genres of music, I personally speak for myself and people that I know, people engaged with that might actually already be challenged in terms of opportunity and having reach to communities and resources. So again, it's even more underprivileged in that sense. So people have to do things by themselves, have to take their own initiatives, put their own sort of money in there, put themselves out on the line, put on these big events, call down all these big names, all of this stuff. And it's wonderful to see. So I think as things grow, people need to maybe make more of a voice and shout out a bit more, form collaborations to get a bigger voice and try and get a bit more money and support publicly for the scene. So yeah.
Pretty much it just needs to be in a situation where you can kind of we just need to be, I don't know, I just feel like what everybody is doing right now, I mean, what everyone's doing right now is sufficient. I feel there's not much that can be improved. I just feel like being consistent with what everyone's doing will allow the scene to grow, and just in general, just make it like, for anyone that's in the creative field, basically, like if everybody's doing big things, I just feel like anybody that's interested in the creative arts, whether it be music or videos or whatever, graphics, art, I feel like if everyone keeps on top of this, I feel like there'll be a bigger scene in Leicester, and it'll just in turn it'll just help everyone out, and we'll be able to like do bigger things basically. So yeah, I feel like that's the way things can improve. But I think we are moving towards that, especially with social media and stuff like that.
At grassroots level, I would say maybe reach out to the people that were in the grassroots before and just connect those dots. And I think they would be willing, from what I've heard, I think they would be willing to do that. And I think that would, all the artists that are coming up in Leicester, like the grassroots ones, I think they could learn a lot from that. And then that would probably help them bust through as well. And I think that would help it, but I think it's going in the right direction anyway, to be fair. At the moment, yeah.
It's hard. I think it comes down to giving people the right platforms and facilities to express their art. But yeah. I think it all boils down to funding and yeah, just being able to give people the spaces to use, and maybe making street performing a bit more widely available for everyone. because that can be a challenge. But yeah, I think just funding, giving more facilities and the right platforms, definitely.
Yeah, so in terms of changes, I'd say just more of the yeah. So like I said, I've kind of talked about it before, but I'll just briefly add to that. So bigger venues offering, like big venues offering less big names the opportunity to perform. So people who are a bit more underground, people who are a bit more independent, unsigned, get more younger talent onto their big stages, big platforms. A way of doing that, whether it's performing on a main stage or it's a part of it, maybe an outdoor festival type thing, that'd be really good to see. I'd see in terms of a scene, I think we could do a bit more, have more regular events that happen. And we do have smaller events, we have things like at Too Funky, we've got the EAVA FM showcase. We used to have Clarence Street as HQ. There's loads of things that have happened, but maybe it amounts to something rather than just having like regular open mic things. Where does that take you? So is there a festival that happens where HQ, EAVA and Clarence all come together and put all of their artists on one showcase? Is that an option that we could? So I say more collaboration in a nutshell, where the camps come together, like how you get culture clash. You got different camps that come together and they clash each other. Healthy clashing is cool, man. It's all good. Like everybody's on their own camp, but they bring their their artists up and they go head to head. Like something like that would be really cool. Healthy competition is what I'd say in a nutshell. So bigger venues allowing more diverse people in, and more collaboration, whether that's a clash situation or more of a getting together situation.
And the changes we can make is all not making the same sound. Be yourself, innit? Yeah, don't go on YouTube and see one done yeah and think, yo, that sounds hard, and go studio and make the same song, bro. Stick to what you know and what you feel like is hard, innit? Don't go. You see me, I got my own sound in it. Next man don't have their own sound in it. The sound like Tom, Dick and Harry down the road, innit? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, when I speak, man know who I am in it. You know what I'm saying? I'm unique. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only way man can improve the scene still. Get these washed rappers out the game, cause
my personal take on it is just to learn as much as you can from anything and anyone. They've got a ton of ways. You just never know, to be honest with you, what you could learn from somebody. It doesn't matter how they dress, what genre they're in, what style, etc., or what trends they're following. Like, if someone learns an instrument, like a guitar and anything, like, you contact that person and see what you can come up with. And not everything always has to be competitive. Like, we need more unity, based upon what I said. Like, even though things are there, in my personal opinion, like, especially in smaller cities as well, it can be quite competitive, but I think everyone's learning from that as well. Just taking the ego away and trying to learn as much as you can from people. And like I said, you know what I'm saying, just link up. Like I said, it doesn't do any harm, just like reaching out to somebody. If someone's a good rapper, you can just get them. Someone's a good producer, get it for them. Someone's even a good DJ. You know what I'm saying? That's one way to make music as well. So don't push anyone away. Just try and learn as much as possible from people as you can. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a ton of producers out there, rappers even, just putting a ton of ideas out there on their take on how to improve something, develop yourself, etc. So I think, yeah, the changes to the scene it definitely should take on board. Like, loads of people, I think it would be much more better and just gets more improved. We all just stick together and just start doing them. I think it just makes sure we kill it for the city. You know what I'm saying? We make our little thing just get up and popping. So yeah, I think I'll stick with that. But like I said, always going to have problems. Not even problems. It's always going to be competitive. But I think everyone's moved away from that as well. Just want to be more connected, bring lots of more opportunities in the city and etc. And yeah, like I said, personally speaking, I can't complain. Everyone wants to help each other. If anything, like from business basis to grants, collaborations, etc. So yeah, like I said, we just need more of that and just build upon that. And that, if I had to make a change to the scene, it's just definitely making everyone communicate with each other, cooperate with each other. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so blessed, you know what I'm saying, in that respect.
I don't have a name that I go by.
I go by Shiggz. I go by K Beats.
I go by I'm Yule.
I go by Saul-Less.
About 2 years ago.
When I joined the episode when I was 17, 18.
When I was like 15, I'm old school.
Probably January 2020, so late 17, early, when I was just about to turn 18.
When I joined Yep last year when I was 16.
You look older.
Thank you.
The producing interested me because I was learning a lot about it at the time.
Learn how a producer can make an instrumental and how instrumentals are made, because I feel like producers are very underrated. And when I found out it was an actual job, like occupation, that's what I wanted. That's what interested me.
I was gonna say the same thing. Let me think. I wanted to learn melodies itself, and then how producer can make melodies and provide for their rappers.
No, I'm an editor guy anyway, so when I was introduced to a software called Dance DJ when I was 11, and not only that, but watching my dad make his own songs in his spare time, and then when I found out about the Youth Education Project and seeing that there are people here who have made their own music videos is what made me want to give it a proper go.
I started taking music seriously because it's anything I'm passionate about, and music interests me because you can tell a story through music and help people at times.
Wow.
I don't make anything specific, but I'm experimental in ambient video game soundtracks.
Ooh.
I make hip hop, R&B, and drill.
I make hip hop, R&B, drill, and trap.
Trap.
My music that I've made is quite mixed. One of them was quite a happy type, one of them was a bit of a horror type, the other two relaxing. So it's basically like same here, experiment beats, which are on SoundCloud.
I want to say I make trap, but I also make a very small genre of music called plug and beat, which is like a SoundCloud type rap.
That the scene's a lot larger and a lot more people involved than I thought.
I learned that a lot of people in Leicester are just as passionate or even more passionate than we are about music. It's nice to see that, and also to see that they want better for the Leicester music scene for the future as well.
I learned that the music itself is big and there's a lot of competitors that are trying to go to the top.
I've learned and improved on how to answer certain questions thoroughly in a certain way as well.
I learned that the music industry is very, very toxic in Leicester.
In what way?
And ask me questions, Marty.